Why, hello there. Hey guys, Mirai Dog here, and welcome to the first ever Barking Dead. Don't know what that is, whoa, what is happening? Whoops! I'm just kidding, no, I'm not gonna do that, that was stupid, I'm gonna cut that out. Actually, I probably won't cut that out, I'm lazy. Anyways, you're probably wondering, what is the Barking Dead? Well, I'll explain. It's basically, I'm gonna be talking about the volumes of The Walking Dead as they come out, and anything Walking Dead comic related. Well, actually, you know what? Anything Walking Dead in general, because I'm going to be talking about the TV show as well, so. For this episode, we're going to be talking about Walking Dead Volume 28, A Certain Doom. And, basically, for those of you who don't read the comics, this is going to contain a lot of spoilers. If you haven't read it, there's also spoilers. But this is, compared to the last one, Volume 27, this is a lot thicker. Okay, so The Walking Dead is, by far, the best comic book series, in my opinion. I mean, otherwise I wouldn't have this, if I didn't believe that. TV show's coming back too, which I'm excited about. Coming back actually the 22nd. Right now it's the 7th, so it's coming back soon. I say a lot, I just noticed that. But yeah, I really like The Walking Dead. That's why I'm starting the series. I'm just trying to make talk while I'm doing this. But, basically, The Walking Dead, for those of you who haven't read the comics, yeah, spoilers, I said that. So let's recap last issue. Last issue, what happened basically is the Whisperer War. Negan brought back her head. This is volume 27. This isn't the one we're going to be mainly talking about. I'm just going to quickly recap this. So basically, Negan brings back the head. Gabriel died from falling off a water tower, and then the guy cut him in half. Whisperers lead a horde of zombies at Rick's place in Alexandria. They also destroy the hilltop with fire and stuff. So the hilltop's pretty much destroyed. And luckily Herschel Jr. didn't die. They actually did end up winning. That's Maggie, for those of you who don't read the comics and just watch the show. That's Maggie. The comics are better than the show. If you don't like the show, consider the comics. It's really good. By now, Negan's pretty good. You know that. And here's the sad thing. This is when I'm going to be doing... So Negan has a standalone comic coming out. And this is kind of like a foresight into what's going to happen. His Lucille broke, which is... Lucille... Oh, God. That was almost bad. So in volume 27, Lucille broke, which is his bat. And for those of you who don't know, he named Lucille after his wife. And he has an actual conversation. I'll read it to you real quick. This is from 27. He says, he buries the bat, and he says, I'm sorry, I never got to bury you before. I know this isn't the same. I'm sorry you were never truly put to the rest. I'm hoping this is the next best thing. This is the closest I can get. I hope you're at peace. I hope you're in heaven, and you fell in love with someone who treats you better than I ever did. And that you're effing your brains out, and then effing your brains back, and after that on a daily basis. So he's basically psychotic, because his wife died. I always miss you, Lucille. Lucille wasn't his... It wasn't just his bat. It was also his wife's name. And he at one point smiles and then says, I'm sorry I named you a stupid effing baseball... I'm sorry I named a stupid effing baseball bat after you. It's a pretty sad moment. And that just shows as well, Negan's a Christian. Because you don't really get to see much of the background of who these characters are. Rick never... I don't think, if I remember correctly, Rick never really mentions if he's Christian or not. But that shows that Negan was Christian. And Negan was a nice guy at once. And just, he lost his wife and it made him go mad. But we're going to learn so much more about him when I get his comic. It comes in next Tuesday, that's coming up. And I'll be making a video on that. Might be a little bit because I want to analyze everything in it. But it's, supposedly from what I've heard so far, it's supposed to be really good. And I love Negan. He's one of my 4 favorite characters. And I know you're like, 4? Well, 3 in the comics, 4 in the show. But my 4 favorite characters in the 3 favorite characters in the comics are Glenn, Negan, and Jesus. And in the show, it's Abraham, Glenn, and Jesus and Rick. Or not Rick, Negan. But, yeah, but 2 of those are dead, and one of them's dead in the comic. Actually, but they're both dead in the comics, but I didn't really like Abraham in the comics. Abraham in the comics was kind of a scumbag. So, let's get into Volume 29, 28, not 29, 29 comes out in like December, January. So, basically the herd comes up to Alexandria from the last comic, and like, it's an Ocean of the Dead is what they called it. And from there, they go up to the gate, and they start killing them at the gate. Actually, Rick sends some people out, but they start killing them at the gate, and they actually kill each other at the gate, the zombies do, or the walkers, because they're falling into the gate, which crushes their heads. And then the whole gate falls, and they're like, holy crap! So then they start knifing people. And Paula, which has a son named Mikey, who you'll learn more about later, dies. Which is kind of sad, because Paula was a good character in this part. And Negan saves Rick, pretty much, because Rick, in this, has a broken leg because of Negan, and lost his hand to the governor, as you know. So, basically, Negan helps Rick. They go, the Hilltop sees what's happening, and the Sanctuary, who is starting to become evil again, because Negan left, and honestly, the Sanctuary was better off with Negan. They are now going to wait until that all goes away. And Carl's freaking out about his dad, even though his dad's fine. So then Negan runs ahead to the house, and Negan actually lets Rick into this house. Because Rick thinks that Negan's gonna, like, leave him outside to die, even though he doesn't. And so they lock themselves in there, and this is the funny part. And Negan's like, you thought I was locking you out at the last minute, didn't you? Don't effing lie to me. And Rick just doesn't say anything. Because, like, at this point, no offense, Rick is so rude to Negan. And Negan's tried to redeem himself, I think, 3 or 4 times now. And he'll redeem himself a 5th time in the end of this, which I'll explain later. So they're trapped in there. They start talking about things that they've done. And then he mentions his wife. And Andrea and her group are leading the walkers away with a horn. And so Negan's talking about his wife. And he's upset because he didn't have the strength to kill his wife when she became a walker. And he called himself an idiot. I mean, it's really sad. Negan's a great character. And he's so dynamic. And he wasn't crazy before. He was only crazy because he lost his wife. And, I mean, I don't blame him. I get crazy too. And, basically, I keep saying and a lot. I'm sorry, I'll try to get better at that. And so Negan goes out of the house and starts stabbing the walkers. I'm, like, trying to find the good, important parts. And as he's stabbing the walkers, he's like, this is fun! It's like... I'm not going to say what it is, because it's really, really nasty. It's really nasty. If you want to read it, I'll just show it on camera. I'll have to freeze frame that at a good point, because you can't really... That's what he says. I'm not going to read that out loud. It's really nasty. But basically he's saying some sexual references, let's just say that. But then he's not watching his back, and he almost gets bit, and Rick saves him. So they're back in there. So they're just, like, trying to fight him off. And the walkers start falling in the ocean back with Andrea's group. They start falling into the ocean. Then Eugene ends up getting trapped. Basically, yeah. Eugene ends up getting trapped. And what happens then is he's, like, trapped by all the walkers. And then Andrea saves him. And here's the part that you might want to watch for spoilers. They get back on the horse, and they're going away, and people are like, oh, they're not going to make it. And then here's when the bad stuff happened. Andrea got bit while she was saving Eugene. And she didn't die, she just got bit. So that can technically kill her. And then Rick and everyone in Alexandria kills all the walkers, like they did in the older comics, I think, like... I want to say it was like volume 15 that they did that. Or maybe, no, volume 14 that they did that. And there is the crazy woman, Sherry, I think it was, yeah, Sherry, who's running the Sanctuary after Negan left. So they are all about to get ready to fight because the Sanctuary doesn't want to be a part of Rick's group anymore. And basically then what is happening is Rick and Sherry sit down and talk over, like, I don't know what were they drinking. I think it was like coffee or tea or something. Yeah, it was tea. And they're talking, and she pulls a knife on Rick, basically. And Rick, out of self-defense, like, she's choking him, and then pulls a knife on him. And Rick, out of self-defense, shoves her off with his mechanical arm, too. Well, it's not mechanical, but his metal arm, too. She cracks her neck on a table. It was like I don't like hearing when people snap their neck. So Andrea sees that walks in. Andrea passes out, though, because she'd been bit. And Rick freaks out. I don't blame him. I liked Andrea. Andrea was awesome. And this is a sad moment in the book. She didn't die. She was passing out there. And they go and help. I keep saying and she's in bed. And again! And! Okay. So she's in bed and telling Rick not to be upset. And that the world needs him. Eugene then thinks it's all his fault. And Carl comes in, calls her mom. It's a very emotional moment. She talks to Lydia and says, be careful. Everyone's special. Da 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 da. That kind of stuff. Michonne talks to Rick. And Roshone won't happen, though. Just saying. Unless it does, I'll be surprised. Rick dates like everyone in the comics, seriously. And then Eugene comes up saying it's his fault. And Rick and Andrea say it's not. And then there's a whole emotional moment where everyone who is close to Andrea comes in and says words to them. And the one that I like the most is when... The two I like the most, actually, is Jesus and Maggie, Little Herschel, and... How did I forget her name? Crap, how did I forget her name? I feel bad. Oh, Sophia. Sophie, whatever. They come in, because she's not dead. In the show, she died, but... And here's what Jesus says to Andrea. Hell of a way to go out. Best words from Jesus. I love Jesus. That's a story they'll be telling for years to come, if that means anything to you. I love Jesus. And then Maggie comes and says, I don't even know what to say. You've been here. I would have been here without you. None of us would be. Like, I read it exactly how it's written. She stumbles a lot. But it's really just a touching moment. Rick has the final words with the coolest girl character. And she's like, people die. And then Carl says, I love you, and hugs her. Because it's mom, technically. And she dies, fades into the zombie world. Actually, no, she doesn't. That's later, sorry. I should know more about this, but I mean, I've read it once, and I'm trying to analyze as I go, but I think I skipped a few pages by accident while I was showing this. She didn't die. She, like, tried to fall asleep, and then Rick says some things like, oh, I'm not fit for this world. And then she's like, yes, you are! Yes, you are! And this is the part this is the touching moment. So, this is the part I skipped a page and I messed it up, but Rick says, I love you so much. Andrea's lying there, and she's smiling, and she says, yeah, you do. It's a touching moment. It's kind of like Han Solo and Leia when he's like, I love you, I know. And then that's when she dies. Touching moment. So she wakes up again, and he's about to shoot her, so he can't. But he crawls in bed and hugs her while she's dead. It's kind of weird. And he says he can't kill her, and then she becomes a zombie. Zombification happened really quickly. And he has to end up knifing her because he can't shoot her. He doesn't have the strength to shoot her because... This is back to Negan talking about when he had to kill his wife, or when he couldn't kill his wife. And he had to knife her in a sad moment. So, she's dead. They bury her. Everyone's like, sorry, Rick. He's like, we have to be strong. And then he says, there's so much more to do. And then, like, while there's these scenes going on of Rick doing stuff, it shows Andrea's message to him. And there's still so much to do. So they're rebuilding. They talk that Sherry's dead. And then this is where Negan stands up. He's like, Rick's a good dude. He's doing all this for you, and this is what you do. Like, basically, that's the gist of what he's saying. He's saying, y'all hated it when I was ruler and stuff. And he's just saying, Rick's such a good guy. And if I were Rick, I probably would have killed you by now, basically. But he's saying, Rick is so generous. And Negan's a great dude. And this is the point where I think Maggie's pretty much forgiven. I mean, she looks irritated. That she's irritated at the other people because they're not listening to what Negan's saying because she agrees with Negan. And they're pretty much on standards now. And a while back, like, Negan and Maggie are pretty much good now. Even though, you know, the whole doink, doink, doink kind of thing, you know what I'm talking about. And then when they leave and say they're still not a part of it, he says, my condolences. Negan's actually sad for Rick about losing Andrea. And Rick's, I think, everyone's starting to like Negan again. Negan being a good guy. And it ends with Rick going to sleep on Maggie's grave. Or not Maggie. Ooh, Andrea's grave. Sorry. Rick's starting to sleep on Andrea's grave. So that's pretty much this whole volume. And then it has the quote, "There's still much to do." So that wraps up this whole volume 28. It's really good. I personally enjoyed it. What I think is going to happen next is I think they're actually going to end up killing the Whispers. And for those of you who know the Whispers, that's, yeah. Hopefully you'll enjoy the show. I recommend the comics greatly. I have all 28 volumes of them. You can get the issues, but I prefer the volumes because it's a lot more to read. But anyways, guys, hope you did enjoy the first episode of The Barking Dead. If you did, drop a like down below. And as always, take care. And bark on.